Right, today is chapter 13, page 47. This is one of the most famous suttas taught by the Buddha, very well known, very important. Okay? SD 3.13, Alagaddupama Sutta. Even the title is very interesting. The discourse on the water snake parable of the water snake. Yeah? M22. When you want to catch a water snake, any snake for that matter, these Indians are very good in catching snakes. You catch the snake by the neck. No matter how poisonous the snake is, of course, some snakes are very poisonous. They spit poison, very dangerous. So you got to hold the snake by the head and point it away from you. Otherwise, it's okay, just long as you don't spit. If you catch a snake by the tail, you're in serious trouble. Okay, but I've seen some of these Indian snake catchers are very good. I saw one very funny video. They show how a local man catches a snake and how this Indian man catches a snake. Indian man, you got locals, you got 2 or 3 people with one with stick, everyone else very scared, And then finally it takes about 15 minutes for this person to catch a snake in some housing estate. And they say, okay, now watch how the Indian man catches the snake. This Indian man only wear a dhoti, like a sarong, So he just holds the fold of his sarong, and then he just follows the snake, goes near the snake, and within minutes he just catch the snake. Actually, he didn't actually catch the snake. He just scooped the snake into the sarong and tie his dhoti. And he looks over and said, that's it, what's there to watch? They're very good in doing this. So this parable is a very familiar one because they know what to do. See? And there are a lot of snakes around us which are more dangerous than the real snakes. Because these real snakes are very scared of you. You walk in the jungle, these forest monks, you learn a lot of things if you live in the forest. One of the things is they always carry a stick with them. Now, not to beat anything, but rather to hit the bushes, make noise, vibrations. Because snakes can't hear, but they can sense vibrations. Then they will quickly go away. See? Because snakes are scared of humans. They're scared for their life. It's only when they're cornered or you step on them, they strike back out of fear, right? So otherwise, they just go away. But there are stories with the Buddha, full of loving kindness, and all these animals come to him. They feel kind of connection with him. You find animals can sense that. So if you show your loving kindness, animals can sense it. Right? Of course, you got to have common sense because sometimes loving kindness will not be enough because your past karma. You may have done something nasty to this person, and he became reborn, and then he might attack you. There are stories like that, some of these arahats, they finish all their training. They listen to the Buddha, they became arahats, but they're still laymen, see? And then they need to look for their robes to get ordained. They're already arahats, as layperson. But then their karma is such that once you become arahat, some of your past karma will have to ripen and then finish off. But you won't be troubled by it. So this arahat, there are a few of them, because they were a band of friends who did something bad to someone in a past life. So this person came back, okay, and killed this arahat. So he died. But he died in arahat, it's not reborn anyway. So sometimes this past karma can come back. So you may wonder, how come I treat this animal so well, but still this animal attacked me or attacked this person, So you have two. You have metta, loving kindness. You must also have common sense. Okay. Now, this sutta talks about a certain monk who has this very terrible wrong view. His view is that it's okay to enjoy sensual pleasure. Basically, you can say it's okay for monks to have sex. So imagine, this is quite a terrible statement to make, Right? So this sutta is about that. The Buddha used this whole sutta to explain about the Vinaya, about the nature of renunciation, what we should do as Buddhists. Okay, I've written a long introduction here, so I want to share with you some of these important things here before we go into the actual sutta to show you. So there are two aspects. One is understanding the sutta in practical terms today. How do we apply it? And then the theory at the same time. The same, maybe 2 lessons. Then we'll see how. So on page 47, you can see all this introduction there. I'll just kind of tell you the story. The summary is given in 101. I don't have to go into that. You can look at it if you want. Now, you see, Buddhism is growing very fast nowadays. Buddhism is 2,500 years old. It's the oldest of the missionary religions. The Buddha was the first to send out his monks and ask the monks to just show how peaceful they are. Other people see them very peaceful. They also want to join. They also want to become monks. So these were the great arahats, the first 10 years, especially, first period of Buddhism, we say. From my studies of the suttas, I think we can divide the Buddha's 45 years ministry. The Buddha taught for 45 years, roughly into 2 halves. First period, second period. First period, about between 10 years to, say, 20, 25 years, more or less. You can't be too exact here. The first 10 years definitely full of arahats. Then the second period will be around 25th year, so around 20, 25 to the final year, 80th year, right? The second period, lots of other non-arahats. The Buddha, in his compassion, allowed the monks to ordain other monks before they are enlightened, before they awaken. Whereas in the first part, the Buddha teaches Dhamma, this person listens, and then he becomes an arahat. And then he says, I want to become a monk, you see? Right? So it's automatic already. The Buddha just stretch out his hand and say, Ehiyo bhikkhu, come, O monk, one person. Or the Buddha says, Eta bhikkhave, come, O monks. They're all monks already, because they're already monks. The Buddha just accept them like that. But later on, the Buddha say, okay, we have a lot of arahats, very good, right? So now we take in non-arahats. We take in people who are not yet even stream winners. As long as they're interested, okay, we take them in. Okay, like Ananda, see? And others. So they were ordained by what is called a Sangha Act, like a parliamentary act. All these are very properly done, right? You can study the whole of Vinaya. It is a legal system. It's one of the oldest legal system in the world. If you're a lawyer, you really appreciate how amazing the Vinaya system has been put together. All the legal terms are there, right? Like for example, you gather together, vote by silence, vote by proxy, and so on. Okay. So we cannot say there's no Vinaya today. The Vinaya is always there, right? It's one area which is very specialized. So if you study law, you study Vinaya, you find it's very interesting. I know only one very good British lawyer who has been writing about all this from his own expertise. Right? So in other words, you got Dhamma and you got Vinaya. These two always go together. Okay, Buddha's time we always talk of Dhamma, Vinaya, no Tripitaka. Tripitaka later on, about more than 100 years after Buddha passed away. The Tripitaka, the third one is Abhidharma, where they put together they systematize all the Buddha's teaching. This is later on. Dhamma is the teaching. Vinaya is the shell, what protects the Vinaya, protects the Dhamma. If we don't have the Vinaya, people will mess up the Dhamma. That's what's happening here. That's why the sutta is very important. When we all become Buddhists, we all are very excited. We feel so good. We feel so holy. We believe anything the teacher says. But after a while, we find something's not right. Okay, and then we dare not say anything. And after a while, we just say, never mind. We just follow the flow. Then everything becomes bad that way. I was not like that, because when I started, I was a very strict monk, but I got a lot of scolding for that by other my teacher was not so strict, and so on. And I thought as Buddhists we can ask a lot of questions, but I got myself into trouble with lots of asking a lot of questions, especially from the Sinhalese monks. The chief high priest didn't like me because of that. I was invited to talk to a group of young short-term novices. What better to talk than about Vinaya? After I talked about Vinaya to the novices, the chief high priest called me up, and these are almost his exact words. I was still a monk, a very young monk at that time. He said, why did you talk to Vinaya to the novices? You talk to them about Vinaya, they get so scared they won't become monks. Intelligent things I can process. But once a monk, chief high priest, talks like that, I said, wow, what do I say? I knew that from that moment on, I'm in trouble. So you can imagine, I had to struggle because of this. Because they don't want thinking people. They don't want people asking too many embarrassing questions. Now you go to any temple today, Sinhalese temple especially, Thai temple also, Burmese temple I think. Full moon, new moon day. Normally the day before the new full moon, people go to the temple for the uposatha. They stay overnight, practice precepts. And the next day the monks gather together, observe uposatha. Very important, uposatha. In Thailand, every full moon, new moon, they will do that. They will gather together in their monastery. They recite the Patimokkha, the 227 rules. Many of these monks, you see, the missionary monks, they live by themselves, all alone. And they live in a house, which are discouraged by the Buddha. So they don't recite the Vinaya at all. They don't recite the precepts. I think they've forgotten what the precepts are. So this is where, these are very serious matters. Okay? Now I'm saying this not to alarm you. I'm saying this to educate you. Not to accept this. Not to say it's alright, because if you say alright, the karma also is yours. Okay? You notice all this religion in China, Japan, Korea, they once were Buddhists, remember? Tibet. The monks were very powerful. They were royalty. The emperor endorsed them, made Buddhism the state religion. In Tibet, the lamas were royal families. They were very powerful. They can do what they like. They're basically laymen, just like the Roman Catholic Church. So, this is what happens when Buddhism is patronized by the emperor or the state. Number one, you cannot say anything emperor says. So you have to be very careful about what to do, what not to do. Okay? So once Buddhism becomes a state religion, it's no more Buddhism. It's just a tool for the powerful. So another thing is, when the emperor writes Buddhism, everybody is a Buddhist. All those who support him become Buddhists. But once he dies, the next emperor or the next dynasty will not be Buddhist. They were taking Confucianism, Taoism, then the Buddhists are in trouble. Anyway, in the end, Buddhism disappeared from China. Why? Many reasons. Of course, politics. The Buddhists did not really practice Buddhism. That is why it died out. Especially in India. Now, see, in India, 11th century to 14th century, the Turks came from Turkey across Asia, and they ended up in India, and they destroyed the temples. Within a few years, all the temples were destroyed, the monks were killed, other monks ran down to Sri Lanka, went up north. The temples were rich, Buddhist temples, golden images, jewels, and the monks were very rich. In fact, they did excavation, they found some of these monks even had a minting machine, machine for making money in their kuti. So it just shows what's going on. So these Turks, they knew, they say, these infidels, these non-God believers in Buddhists in India, very rich, So they want to go there. Because the wealth attracted Mara. So be very careful. This is how we destroy Buddhism, by focusing on money, wealth, Singapore, you see that also. This man becomes so rich, they got to go to jail. Right? They have horses, they have property in Australia. Now almost every rich man has property in Australia. So the question is, how did this happen? It's our fault in some way. Number one, we don't know what it is. But ignorance of the law, you're still culpable, That's why you got to know Vinaya. Then they tell you, don't follow Vinaya. Don't study Vinaya. Don't read it, you go to hell and so on. That's because they don't keep it. That's why they don't want you to know about it. So the Vinaya was made by the Buddha because lay people complain to the to the Buddha. The lay people say, "Oh, why do the monks behave like this? It's not good. There's something strong here." The Buddha listens and say, "Oh, okay, we must encourage the faith of the lay people. We should not exploit them." So Buddha made all kinds of rules, and that's called the Vinaya, to protect the monks, protect the lay people, protect the Dhamma. That's why we need to know the Vinaya. Okay. So now you may think that I'm just saying these things because they're just stories. There's evidence here studied by the scholars. Look at page 48 at the bottom. No? Okay, here you have this, probably an anthropologist, I think. He was studying religion in America, and there is this Singhalese mission in California, in Los Angeles, I think. So it's led by someone called Venerable Dr. Ratanasara. Okay, all these Venerable Doctors. I don't know why they need Venerable Doctors, but the Buddha is already quite great. We don't say Venerable Dr. Buddha. So anyway, let me just read to you this part, okay, at the bottom. He, Venerable Dr. Ratanasara of Dhamma Vijaya, which is a center, a Singhalese mission in Los Angeles, thinks monks will inevitably begin to shake hands and keep casual company with women as part of their normal pastoral relationships in America, right? So he has this idea. He thinks a time will come when monks should be quite relaxed with women. But in fact, they've progressed a little further from there, because recently, within a year, there was this picture on Facebook of a Singhalese monk. I have to be very specific, otherwise, we might say the wrong kind of monks. This Singhalese monk actually hugged another woman, and there's a picture of them smiling. Of course, there are two kinds of reactions. One is you are horrified. The other is say, oh, those say, oh, they're very stupid people. They do not know the Vinaya, they don't care about the Dhamma. So, once you see a picture online, you are actually connected. So I wrote very clearly there what's wrong. So I responded and so on. At least I make sure my friends know that this is wrong. I said, okay, good, now you hug. What's next? What's next? Right? And that's the danger. We're not talking about, it's just hugging, It's just like you have a little hole in the ship, It's not just a little hole. It's going to break through. The whole ship will sink. There is a saying, a ship can sail through the ocean and the storm safely as long as water doesn't get in. But once water gets in, the ship will sink. So when you do this sort of thing, you break the Vinaya rules, water will get into the Dhamma ship. The ship will sink for this person, not for us. Not for lay people, okay? As long as you practice, even as a lay person, you can still practice on your own. This is why the Buddha created this safety device. Because he knew some of these monks were going to be very bad monks. Even during the Buddha's time, there were such monks. So he taught us how to rely on ourselves, how lay people can also practice. Even in the Buddha's time, there were very famous laymen preachers. They were so good, the jhana attainers, Sometimes even monks go to them, ask them questions. Okay, of course, not so many lay people. The more monks were good monks, but there are also many who are bad monks. Okay, today most of them are bad monks. So This is one example. All right. Now on the good side, you see we have forest monks training lots of people who are really interested, especially from the West. They want the real thing, because the seekers from the West, the good ones, they want the real thing. So they go all the way to the forest. They don't mind going anywhere. So many of them went to the northeast, where Ajahn Chah was living, Northeast Thailand, and they became monks. Okay, and then to cut a long story short, after that, Ajahn Chah and other forest monks, Mahabua, also invited to go to England. Okay, so you imagine how excited many of these monks are. Okay, first Mahabua went. Mahabua is very strict, He's a different group. I think he's Tamayut, I think. He went there. There are no temples yet, so he has to stay in the house. That's the first thing he said. Wow, this is very uncomfortable. And there's a bar, pub next door. He said, oh, this is not very conducive, So it did not work with him. He left UK and came back. Then later they invited Ajahn Chah. Ajahn Chah is a different kind of monk. He was very intelligent. He watches the situation. And then first time he left the country. So he went to England with this group of monks, stayed in the house also. And then the next morning they all get up. It's very cold. Well, probably it is in spring or summer, so not that cold. So he got up, got dressed, just like any day. The other monks are very curious what he was doing. Then he looked at the monk and says, "We are monks, right? We go on alms round." So the other monk was scratching their head and said, "Alms round in England? I mean, nobody knows what we are doing, Ajahn Chah said, "That's what we do, we are monks." So he got dressed as a monk and then went out. Crocodile, that means one after the other. They walked quietly along the road, Of course, nobody knew what they were, who they were. So they just walked. But then people wondered, who are these monks? Not only monks. Now remember, they're not tourists, You don't see them in resort world, You're seeing them on the road walking very calmly, looking down, not looking around like that, looking down, very peaceful. So they were very curious. So they all asked, who are these people? Then they heard the word monk. And slowly the monks advertised themselves. This is called the Asaji effect. Asaji. Because Asaji, remember the story, right? Asaji went out and then Sariputta saw him. He's very peaceful. That's all that attracted Sariputta. So remember, this is what attracts people, by your peacefulness, your friendliness. Knowing Dhamma helps, yes, but this peacefulness is very important. So after that, people are very happy to see. They look at the monks and they say, "Oh, these monks are friendly. They don't tell people to shoot others or burn others. They're very peaceful." And they were very happy to receive the monks. Then later, Ajahn Sumedho came. And same thing, same tradition. He was walking quietly along the road one day, and then this man was cycling. This is how good karma ripened. Very interesting, This man was cycling, and he saw this very strange man, a skinhead, wearing a blanket. That's how they describe us, I remember when I was in Holland, I was walking on the roadside, and then this young Dutch boy came up to me and said, "Why are you wearing a blanket?" I said, "It's very cold, young man." So this young man stopped his bicycle, came down, because he saw the Ajahn Sumedho so peaceful, it's so different, the way he walks and so on. So he went up to him, normal question, "What are you?" They say, "Who are you?" I say, "What are you?" Of course, he says, "I'm a monk." I say, "What is a monk?" And then, the way Ajahn, this Sumedho talks is good enough, So to cut a long story short, after listening to Ajahn Sumedho, "Oh, that's wonderful, You're coming here, you're a monk. In fact, I have a piece of land called Chithurst, this piece of forest land. I don't know what to do with it. I think you can use it, turn it into a monastery. And that's how they got this Chithas, this one of the first outlets, monasteries there. See? No evangelizing, peaceful experience, meeting of karma. Now, this is what we're trying to do here. Nothing big, nothing grand. We'll do it in our small way, with the best tools that the Buddha has given us, studying the suttas and meditation. Okay? So notice here, Ajahn Chah didn't complain, say, oh, this one cannot, that one cannot. I say, okay, what can we do here in this country which is like this? And he built up from there, skillful means. Okay? So here you are, the example of a good person. You have example of a bad person, you got example of a good person. Alright? So there are many stories like this, just read up. So my point in telling you all this thing is, do not let these people push you around, teach you the wrong things. Alright? Number one, when you meet a monk, if you see the monk alone on the road traveling, always be careful. Good monks never travel alone on the road, especially in public. They will go in pairs or a few, or there'll be a kapiya. Kapiya means a listener, a lay person taking care of them. You won't see them in places of entertainment, shopping malls especially. You won't see them there. They don't drive cars. This driving car, of course, is quite tricky. I even know an Abhidhamma monk in England. He drove me in his car. He's a Burmese monk. He told me, he said, in England, they won't drive you around, but they'll give you a car. You got to drive yourself. I said, okay. So that was up to him. Right? But I know those forest monks, they don't drive. Right? So, another point is, a monk will never give you things. The things that you give to a monk, the monk will never give you. The monk won't give you meat, food, clothing, whatever. That's what we give to the monk. If the monk give it to you, it's called fishing. Okay? They're trying to get you as a supporter. Something small or something big. Right? The good monks will just be there, they teach dhamma, and you know they're good, you support them. So there are certain kinds of monks who, shall we say, they are fortune soldiers. They say, oh, Singaporeans are very rich, they're very generous, they believe anything you teach them. So a lot of them are coming here. All right? So remember, this is only the tip of the iceberg, So don't get caught in this kind of game. All right? Know the monks well. Then there's another notorious misconception. Certain monks and nuns will tell you, you're not supposed to read the Vinaya at all. I'm sure this one, Brother Lo, has told you many times, right? They don't want you to read the Vinaya because they don't keep it. So you should not say, why should we not read and know the Vinaya? If they tell you you go to hell if you read it, they say if you break the rules, you go to hell. This is what the suttas say, right? And from my understanding is, the rules were made by request of the lay people. So this is your answer. We want good monks. You see, Buddhism today is hijacked by the bad monks. I heard a story where you got this young monk who just finished his education overseas, young Chinese monk. He has come back with this great view in his mind, want to change things, teach Dhamma. He joins the club. The club members say, you better toe the line. Don't be too good. So in the end, this one person couldn't do anything. So that's another sad thing. So where if laymen have joined him and support him, it could have been different, you see. So it's a very difficult situation now. That is why thinking lay people, they work alone nowadays, so that they don't get caught up in this current, right? So education is very important. Knowing the right thing is very important. Because next time if you have a problem, you need help, you won't get good help, right? And Buddhism is not a real social force today. We are all individual temples everywhere. The temples are owned by the monks. They are not owned by the Sangha. They are not a holy place. You have a tourist place called, I don't want to say those things, because this is what they use Buddhism to make money, give wrong ideas. bring shame to us. Buddha's relic so huge. Wow, imagine what kind of person is that. And next thing is chief priestess says, you can believe what you like. You have faith, that is Buddha's truth. What kind of talk is that? If you bring an intelligent student, they won't believe these things. So this is what we're up against. We have to educate ourselves first, and then slowly tell your friend, don't get caught in this. Go on telling them, and then keep meeting up together. You got to build up this connection, this friendship, to have a future Buddhist future possible, the right kind of Buddhism. Otherwise, it's just corruption. Okay, so all this is here in this front part. In fact, the Sutta Discovery talks a lot about this kind of things. I use the Sutta and I write all this thing in context. It's all over. You won't notice it because there's a lot of Dhamma, but here and there where related, what the Buddha say, I write something, give you the example, what went wrong. Okay? This is one of the discovery, is the most truthful translation you can ever get today. Right? It educates you, it tells you the truth, it gives you the Sutta very clearly, as clearly as possible. Yes, we have mistakes here and there because of proofreading. We don't have enough proofreaders. Okay? Other monks have got very good, an army of helpers. We just work with a few quiet workers here and there, and we get things done. Okay? So this is the Sutta Discovery. I know in the future they will appreciate it much more than we today. And these are the suttas that will tell us what did the Buddha teach us. What I've told you today. Now let's look at the Buddha's teaching. Page 84. Now, Alagaddupama Sutta. Alagaddupama is made up of two words. Alagadda means water snake. Notice the Indians, they have a special word for water snake, Alagadda. Then Upama means comparison, parable. The discourse on the water snake parable.
Alagadda?
Alagadda, yes. Thus have I heard, at one time the Blessed One was staying in Anathapindika's park in Jeta's Grove, near Savatthi, or outside Savatthi. Now at that time, a bad view arose in a monk named Aritta, formerly of the vulture killers. So he came from a family of vulture killers. No? So this is a wrong view. This monk thinks, as I understand the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, those things called obstructions or stumbling blocks by the Blessed One are not able to obstruct one who indulges in them. Alright? So these obstructions are sensual pleasures, wrong views, this kind of thing. Alright? So here the sutta is quite polite, you see, because he has this idea, sexuality is okay for monks. His idea was this: if a stream winner can get married, can have sex, why not anyone else? Wrong reasoning. You know? Because stream winner is different. Stream winner is a lay person keeping the 5 precepts. Okay? And they are not monks. Right? So he has this wrong reasoning. Okay? So this is a very bad view. So other monks heard him. Okay? Section 3. Now, several monks heard. It is said that such and such a bad view arose in this Aritta. So they heard this. So they asked him, is it true? Right? So there's a lot of repetition, is summarized. So Aritta says, yes, this is my view. All right? So once the monks are sure that Aritta has this wrong view, of course they're very concerned. So they go to the Buddha. All right? So after that, once they go to the Buddha, then the Buddha will call him up, say, is it true? Is it true that you have such a view? So the Buddha will always counter question to confirm. The Buddha doesn't immediately scold the monk and says, did you say this? All right? And then when Aritta says, yes, that's my opinion, now the Buddha gives his teaching. Okay, now look at 3.4. Further down, third line, 3.4, third line. Avuso arita. Do not say so. Right? Do not misrepresent the Blessed One. It's not good to basically teach the wrong teachings, right? So it's this is the monks talking still. Huh? So the monk is telling the other monks, they're reminding this Arita. Okay, they tell Arita. The monks they were very concerned about Arita, so they told him. They said, "Do you remember the Buddha taught all these things? So many parables. For example, the parable of the bone. Number 2, the parable of the piece of meat. Number 3, the parable of the grass torch. Number 4, the parable of the fiery charcoal ember, and then the parable of the dream, the parable of borrowed goods, the parable of the fruit-laden tree. Number 8, the parable of the butcher's knife and block. Number 9, the parable of the sword stakes, very sharp, like spears, and the parable of the snake's head. Okay? So these are all parables showing the dangers of sensual pleasure, the frivolity of sensual pleasure. It gives you just a bit of pleasure but a lot of pain, like that. Okay? So, but still he doesn't agree with the monks. So the only way is the monks would tell the Buddha, and the Buddha calls the monk, Arita up, and the whole assembly is there, all the monks, right? So in other words, now this is a very serious issue. The Buddha is talking to Arita as well as the other monks. Arita stands firm in his wrong views. The Buddha teaches all the monks present, right? So again, the Buddha repeats the 10 parables. If you look at page 87, right? The Buddha said, "Don't you remember I taught all these things? How can you say it's all right to have that for monks to have sensual pleasures? It's all right for monks to have sex and so on." In other words, the Buddha said, "I've taught against it." Like the skeleton with bones, bare bones. What does that mean? It says a bone is very solid, just a bit of flesh only. But here comes a dog biting, gnawing at the bone, but very little meat. So in other words, sensual pleasure is like that. You waste your time enjoying it, and a lot of difficulty. Then a piece of meat, right? When a bird or an animal has a piece of meat, all the other animals will come and attack it. They also want to eat it, right? So you get yourself into a lot of trouble. Number 3, the grass torch, right? You hold the grass torch, it burns your hand also, right? You get hurt. So all these are parables of being hurt. Then number 5 is a dream. Sensual pleasure is like a dream. You find in the end it's not so real, right? Just sensual pleasure for itself, you find it's not. It becomes unreal. Okay, so you keep on wanting more and more. And then there is the borrowed goods. It's like karma. You borrow something, you got to pay back. All right. A fruit-laden tree. When a tree has fruits, people want to pluck the fruits, and the tree gets destroyed. So if you have a lot of lust, a lot of desire, you will destroy yourself. You will get into a lot of trouble. You will fail. Then the knife and block for chopping. So it's a kind of a symbolism of pain and cutting. Sword stake, again, another symbolism of pain. You get pierced by this desire. You suffer on account. And number 10, the snake's head, very dangerous. The snake bites, very poisonous. It can kill us. No? So this is this is the parable we are coming to. So the sutta doesn't record Arita saying, okay, I give up my wrong view. He just keeps quiet. That means he stick on to it. So the Buddha uses a very special word here. He uses the word hollow man. Look at 4.6. Yet Bhante, although we question press and Palit him thus, the monk Arita formal. So here the monk is saying, we told him all these things, but still this monk didn't listen. Okay. So the Buddha says, this is a hollow man. Okay. Hollow man, that means he appears as a monk, but inside no training, no moral virtue, no calmness, no wisdom. Right. So the Buddha teaches all the same thing, so there are two things going on. The monks by themselves were trying to teach, trying to correct this wrong view of Arita. He didn't want to listen. Then they brought him to the Buddha. The Buddha again told him in the same teachings, but he still insists that sensual pleasure is all right. All right. So you see a lot of repetition there, and the 10 parables are repeated on page 88. So you have, this is one way where the oral tradition makes the monks and us as audience remember. They recycle the teachings. The 10 parables are recycled. So we hear them again and again, we are reminded. Okay, so this is a very clever way of telling a story at the same time teaching us to remember the important Dhamma teachings. All right, so the first part here affirms that the Buddha definitely doesn't teach such a thing. Monks do not enjoy sensual pleasures, okay, for monks, because it's not something bad in a manner of speaking. Rather, the monk and nun has taken a vow to renounce sensual pleasure, not to have families. To the ancient Indians anyway, sensual pleasure means you can have babies, and the babies you have to take care of them. It's a family, it's a responsibility, which is fine if you have a good family. The Buddha teaches the blessings of a family also. Right? On the other hand, the renunciants or monastics have taken a vow. They say, we are living home, we are giving up the world because we want to walk the path and attain awakening in this life itself. If possible, arahathood itself. Right? So it's a voluntary vow of celibacy. Celibacy means having no sex. Okay. So if a monk like Arita says, it's okay, then he doesn't know what the training is. So that's why the monks are very strong about this view. The Buddha reaffirms it, right? So it goes to 2 cycles, which I've summarized for you. Then the Buddha goes on to explain to Arita as well as to us that you cannot have sexual pleasures without sensual pleasures. They are together. So you look at section 7 on page 89. Yeah? No sensual pleasure without sensual desire. So you have this desire, this lust. Okay? And lust, as you know, is a negative emotion. It's not helpful. It prevents you from meditating. How does lust prevent you from meditating? You are sitting down, you want to watch your breath, and then you say, I want to eat this, I want to eat that. That also is lust. Not very serious, but that kind of simple desire already distracts you. So can you imagine if you have stronger lust? It's going to be very difficult, right? You won't want to meditate at all, right? So sensual pleasures are always rooted in lust. This is what the Buddha is trying to point out to Arita as well as to us. No? So at this point, let me read to you number 7. Then the Blessed One addressed the monks thus: Bhikshus, what do you think? Has this monk Arita, formerly of the vulture killers, kindled even a spark of wisdom in this Dhamma and Vinaya? Right. So because the Buddha is saying this man doesn't even understand the nature of lust. Here what the Buddha is doing is he's talking with the whole Sangha. Arita is there. So he's trying to show Arita that all the monks are practicing the same thing and you should be following it. Okay? So by this time, Arita at least knows that the other monks disagreed with him. 7.2, when this was said, the monk Arita, formerly of the vulture killers, sat silently, dismayed, his shoulders drooping, hanging his head, glum, unable to speak, at a loss for words. Then knowing this, the Buddha told him. So at least this is the sign that Arita knows is wrong. But that's all there is here. Because these are called like cues. So once the person droops his head like that, so he accepts the fact he's wrong. But better than that, he will say, oh Bhante, yes, I know I've done wrong, please forgive me. But he didn't ask for that. So in other words, although he knows it's wrong, for some reason he does not own it up. And because of that, the Buddha continues with the main teaching, which is to come, right? So the Buddha says here, so the Buddha repeats the 10 parables. So remember the 10 parables again, all right, one by one, so that Arita will remember. So notice there is about 5 times the 10 parables are repeated to show how important the teaching against sensual pleasure is. All right? So that is chapter 1. Okay, now you go to page 91, you see the big number 2 in the center. All right? So this first part, it shows it's a very important sutta. You got at least 2 parts, So this time the Buddha is going to change the tune. He's going to give another parable. He's now teaching all the monks present and teaching us also the parable of the water snake now. What is this parable of the water snake? Section 10. Here, bhikshus, some misguided people learn the Dhamma, the discourses, the stanzas, the exposition, the verses, the inspired utterances, the sayings, the birth stories, the marvels, and the answers to questions. But having learned the Dhamma, they do not wisely examine the true purpose or the true meaning of these teachings. Right? So this is an early classification of the various teachings. Discourses are the suttas, then the stanzas are the verses, gathas, and so on. Right? So basically, the Buddha says some people, they just learn the Dhamma for theory. They do not know what it is used for. Okay? Basically, what's the purpose of the Dhamma? Number 1 is to help us keep the precepts. Right? If you like, you can simplify it further. You can say, it makes us joyful, like doing loving kindness, that when we are happy, it's easier to keep the precepts. Okay? And studying the Dhamma also teaches us to let go of unnecessary things, let go of unhappy things. All right? All right, the Buddha continues, next paragraph. Without examining the true purpose or true meaning of those teachings with wisdom, they are not convinced of it, or they fail to see its wisdom. All right? So why are many of those modern monks not keeping the rules? They never studied the Dhamma properly, or they did only study as academic subject to get a MA, PhD. Why are they doing all this? Because they're worried about money. They worry about when they are old, who take care of them. So they think that they must go to university, get educated, get a job, they got money, they save up, and then they have a retirement plan. That's just the opposite of renunciation. Renunciation means you leave home, you go into a life with total uncertainty. You don't know where your next bowl of rice or next bowl of food, you don't know what it is going to be. You don't know who's going to give it to you. You don't know whether you'll get it or not. Even when I was in Thailand, I remember the first day I was there as a young monk. I got up at 7, I think. The first time I did not know the monastery system. Then there was a novice that chaperoned me. We all went out. 7 is too late. No food. So we came back empty bowl. Then I told myself, oh dear, we're going to go hungry. Where's the temple system? There are lots of other novices, so they all share. They put the food together in a common plate, see? And then we all sat down. The fun part is this, because I'm the oldest novice there. I was like 19 years old, going to be 20. Once you reach 20, normally you become a monk. I said, but the other novices are very young, like 17, 18 years old. So they were looking at me, and I was looking at them. I was wondering why. They couldn't speak English. One of them, then they made a sign. They wanted me to start eating first. I didn't know what they were doing. And I remember the first thing I ate. You know why? Because they laughed at me. It was glutinous rice. So I looked at the glutinous rice. I saw a fork and spoon. I took the fork and spoon and wanted to scoop the glutinous rice. And they were giggling. This is definitely not a Thai. Because glutinous rice, you have to squeeze it in your hand into a ball, and then you eat it. And I was using fork and spoon, so I laugh at them anyway. So you see, there is this fellowship also among the novices. They take care of each other. All right. So a renounced life also can be happy in that sense when the monks help each other. Now the monks tried to help Arita, but he didn't listen to them, unfortunately. All right. So now the Buddha has to give a long discourse. So the Buddha says some of these monks, they learn the Dhamma, but they do not understand the purpose of it. The purpose of it here is to renounce sensual pleasures. But Arita didn't see that, right? So then the Buddha gives the parable of the water snake further down, 10.2. Now this is the key parable from which the sutta got its name. 10.2. Suppose a man who needs a water snake, looking for a water snake, wandering in search of a water snake, sees a large water snake and grasps its coil or its tail. He would turn back and bite his hand or his arm or one of his limbs, and because of that he would suffer death or great or deadly pain, right? Why is that? Because bhikshus of the wrong grasp of the water snake. Now this is a well-known fact in India even today. Water snakes are dangerous, right? You catch by the tail, they'll strike back. 10.3. So, okay, here the Buddha gives you the parable and the meaning. Okay, he says here this man catch a snake the wrong way, catch by the tail, and then the snake bites him. What is the meaning? You can see, so too here, some misguided person learns the Dhamma, and then all the different kinds of categories of Dhamma, sutta, stanza, and so on. Further down, but having heard the Dhamma, they do not wisely examine the true purpose, the meaning of those teachings. And without examining the true purpose, the meaning of those teachings with wisdom, they are not convinced. They do not see the wisdom. They fail to see the wisdom, right? So they didn't examine the Dhamma properly. Yes? Sure.
This 10.2, it says, suppose a man who needs a water snake. Why does a man need a water snake?
So probably they could eat these snakes, that's one. I think that's the best I can think of. In India they do eels, you see, right? So they need a water snake. Or of course it can be means he has to catch a water snake. Maybe he wants to show it off something. But the idea that water snake is dangerous. You must know how to catch it by the neck. All right. So and that's the second parable. All right. So first is the parable of the wrong way of catching water snake, wrong way of studying the Dhamma. Okay. 11. Here bhikshus, some clansmen learn the Dhamma, and then the list is given. And having learned the Dhamma, they examine the true purpose, the true meaning, and so on. And then so they carefully examine what's this about, what is it for, and then you practice it accordingly. All right. So here the Buddha gives the parable up later. Notice, further down the water snake parable. The water snake rightly grasped. 11.2. Suppose a man who needs a water snake, looking for a water snake, wandering in search of a water snake, sees a large water snake and catches it rightly with a cleft stick. All right, a stick with two prongs. And having done so, grasps it rightly by its neck. See here the Buddha is teaching how to catch a snake. Then although the snake might coil around his hand or his arm or one of his limbs, still he would not suffer death or deadly pain. Right? So even though the snake coil around your arm, it's just a small snake and it won't bite you, so you are still safe. Right? Why is that? Because of the right grasp of the water snake. Right? So this is a very beautiful parable. You must get the right grasp of the Dhamma. Okay? So there are basic principles you can remember. Whenever you study suttas and so on, always remember, somehow the suttas will be about impermanence, suffering, or non-self. The three characteristics. Somehow the suttas will lead to these three teachings. The Buddha will never tell us to do bad things. So this is one way of understanding it. The purpose of the Dhamma is to bring inner peace to us, so that we aspire to reflect on impermanence and then go nearer the path to awakening, to be free from suffering. That's why we are studying Buddhism. All right? So that's the parable of the water snake. So remember this parable. Okay? So this is a very nice time to stop for a break. Now notice we have stopped at number 2 just nice. Next part is number 3. The next one is another important parable. Okay? Okay, make sure you catch the snake properly now. Now this sutta has got 2 important parables, the most famous parables in Buddhism actually. The parable of the water snake. Number 2 is parable of the raft. The parable of the raft is very famous. The parable of the raft, parable of the snake tells you how to deal with something dangerous. A snake is very dangerous. But you know how to catch the snake, even if it's dangerous, it won't hurt you, it won't harm you. Alright? The snake is dangerous. But the Dhamma is not dangerous. Okay? But if you use the Dhamma wrongly, it becomes dangerous. Right? If we understand Dhamma wrongly, we use Dhamma wrongly, then we create bad karma. That's the meaning. Yeah? So as long as you don't have negative intention, bad intention, don't worry at all. Okay? So even when sometimes you say something is wrong, you scold the person and say, why you want to do this bad thing? It's not good for you. Although you scold the person, it's not bad karma because you want to stress this person the danger of it. In some culture, you got to stress that you talk very softly, they won't care. See? So you must know the situation. Okay? Remember, intention is what will decide the level of goodness in your action. Your intention is pure, don't worry about the results. Right? Sometimes you do good things, people may scold you, people say, oh, what are you trying to do, The important thing is, you're trying to do good. Right? Because do it in a wise way, not to hurt others, not to show off to others, basically. Right? All right, let's look at the parable of the raft this time, 13. Bhikshus, I will show you the parable, how the Dhamma is comparable to a raft that is for crossing over the waters for the far shore, not for the purpose of grasping. Listen and pay close attention, I will speak. Right? So the Buddha always said that, listen, pay close attention, he's going to tell you something important. And the monk said, yes, Bhante. 13.2, the Blessed One said this. Bhikshus, now remember, you see the word bhikshus, the commentary says bhikshu means whoever is listening to the Dhamma. Okay? The Buddha spoke this 2,500 years ago, today we are still listening. Because of the word bhikshus. They were the ones who preserved these teachings for us. So now we are listening. Okay? If you listen to the Dhamma wisely, peacefully, you have what's called bhikkhu bhava inside you, the state of a monk inside you. You may not wear the robes, but the mind of a monk is inside you. What is the mind of a true monk? A mind that is free from greed, free from hate, free from delusion, at least temporarily. Okay? Now that's a good thing. Whenever you come here, you are free from hate, you're free from greed, free from hate, free from delusion, at least for a moment. So that's called the state of a monk, a true monkhood. So monkhood is not a ceremony, not a ritual. It's how you behave. Okay? Bhikshus, suppose a man in the course of his journey saw a great stretch of water, whose near shore is dangerous and fearful, and whose far shore is safe and free from fear. By the way, the word fear can also read as danger in Pali, Bhaya. Can be fear, can be danger. But there is no ferry, no bridge for crossing over to the far shore. So this is the starting of the first half of the parable. Say we are traveling along the river, and there is a tiger coming, whatever enemy is coming, we want to cross over, and no bridge, no boats. So what do we do? Then he thinks, there is this great stretch of water whose near shore there is danger and so on, the shore across is safe. So what do we do? 13.3. What now if I were to collect grass, wood, branches and leaves and bind them together into a raft, supported by the raft and exerting effort with my hand and feet, I go safely across to the far shore. All right. So notice here, this is the parable 13.3. You collect wood, stick, which are dry and can float, of course. Of course, it can be even a trunk, Then notice the parable says you paddle with hand and feet. How many limbs are there? 4. Now remember, why 4? 4 satipatthanas. The 4 focuses on mindfulness. So sometimes you can see in the parable this kind of connection. That's why the Buddha said you got to paddle with your hands and feet, 4 limbs, by practicing the 4 satipatthana. Right? And then paddling means you make your own effort. See, so this is a very beautiful parable here. Through your own effort, you reach across, you go across the water to the safe shore. This shore represents what? Samsara, suffering. All right, this shore. The water are your defilements. That's what prevents you from reaching the far shore is happiness, nirvana. So we go across the water by using the dhamma. Right? Right. So notice in the first parable, the Buddha said this Arita doesn't know the purpose of the dhamma. So in this second parable, the Buddha shows the purpose of the dhamma. You use the dhamma to swim across this dangerous water, then you reach the far shore. The far shore is nirvana. You are safe. Okay. So this man collects all those wood and so on, and then tie together, and then it goes across. All right. So this is the way we study the Dhamma. Okay? And there's something else the Buddha said about this parable further down. 13.7. Now, bhikshus, by doing so, you got to do correction then. By doing so, that man is doing what should be done with the raft. What did he do? Okay, so the Buddha said, you take this raft, you paddle with hand and feet, you reach the far shore, safe already. Do you carry the raft with you? You don't need to. Why? Number one, you made it up already. And number two, it was break up anyway. You don't have to carry with you. You are safe already. Okay? So when we study Dhamma, what does this mean? This is a very important meaning, you know. A lot of us, we study Dhamma, we say, oh, this is what the Buddha said, right. So now we say, everyone is wrong, this is right, I understand. Sutta discovery says so. Then you go around and start arguing with people and say they are wrong, okay? Now that's wrong grass also. That's the water snake. You know the Dhamma, you know very clear this is right. Other people may not get it. It's okay. So just let them talk, listen carefully, don't argue with them, but try to explain other views gently. So you find that slowly this person also will understand and say, oh, now I see it. You see? Because all the views that we learn are provisional. In all your life long up till now, whatever your age is there a view that is always fixed up to now? Can you think of any views you have that is fixed up to now? You don't have to change. An opinion you have of someone, you don't have to change. It's the same throughout from day one until now, or a view of something. We always change our view somehow. You know, I've been working on Buddhist texts for like 50 years. I've changed my views many times. And when I sit quietly in my desk studying the Sutta, my views also are changing. Changing means it's become clearer. You let go of old views, new ones come. They become clearer and clearer and clearer, like that. Okay? What does view means? Let's say before you go to some foreign country, let's say you want to go to Tokyo, you want to go to London or New York, you've never been there. You only seen photograph and then friends tell you things, so you have this view in your head, say, oh, like this, like that, you think all these things, you know, and you think it's a very nice place, but you've never been there. You only have this view in your mind, but they're not real. Then you go there, when you're actually there, you find many of your views will change. Some good, some bad. Then you come back with other views. But then you come back with your views, you tell your friends have their views of what you tell them. But their views are different from what you are saying in your mind. So even Dhamma is like that. It's quite tricky, you know. So the Dhamma teachers were very careful to use different stories to convey the basic ideas. The purpose of the teaching. So it's okay to be wrong, it's okay to disagree, but important thing is to agree to learn, basically. Remember, all views are provisional until you are awakened. Okay? Alright, so the Buddha says something else. So you got to throw away this old rough. You don't need it anymore because you already crossed over. So the Buddha said, if you throw this rough away, imagine, Dhamma also you got to throw away. That is something he said quite interesting. He said the Dhamma also you must throw away. What he means is you must get rid of your views. He's hinting to Arita. He says you must get rid of your views. Because if you don't get rid of your views, you will still get stuck there, remain there. You won't grow. You won't grow. You're still a child. Okay? 14. Bhikshus, having understood the parable of the raft, you should abandon even the dharmas, how much more so that which are not dharmas, right? That which are truth, which are good, you got to let go of them. Dhammas meaning things, your thoughts, wrong ideas, you must let go of them. So even if they are bad, it's worse, you got to let go of it. What does it mean to let go of dhammas, good dhammas? Well, very soon our sutta study is finished, right? We all got to go home. Now we don't say, oh, this sutta is very good, we should spend days and weeks study here, don't go home. Then you say, oh yeah, I don't to come anymore, right? So it's a good thing, we must also let it go at certain times because we have other duties. So that's the good thing. You know? So if you must let go of the good things, the Buddha said, what more of bad things? Right? So now it's hinting to Arita. He says, there's so many good things you got to learn. See? You got to let go of the bad things first. So when you let go, then only you start learning. Then there is space to learn. Right? So the parable section is finished. Notice now section 4. After this, the Buddha talks into the hardcore doctrines, the five aggregates, and so on. So this is important, so I'm not going to rush this. This I think we'll study next lesson. I think it's just nice for one lesson. Talks about the how views arise. Then there's a very, very pleasant parable of Jetavana. Jetavana itself is a parable. Okay, the Buddha goes to the Buddha said, "Look around. You see all this park? There are broken leaves and branches and so on." And then and he uses that to show their views, how you got to sweep them away and so on. Okay, any questions? Yes. Avuso. Avuso is usually either you use the word for equals or senior to junior. Once you see they use avuso, that means the Buddha is still alive. After the Buddha passed away, the monks don't use avuso anymore. They use bante, or the senior monks will address the monk by name. Yeah, avuso just means friend, or I think in Chinese it's something like lao, lao pang yo or something. The lao meaning old, because avuso means the aged one, the one with age. It's like showing respect, yeah. Awu, yeah, awu is age. Some, yeah, different. You can translate that way. That would be what's called idiomatic translation. Yeah, but literally it would be like lao peng yo like that. These are all actually secular way of addressing. People address each other, and the monks use this polite way of addressing each other. Any other questions? Anything you're not sure? So I hope you have understood what I tried to explain of the suttas and something useful to you. No? Okay, so let us close with reflection. Okay, like today is important. We are sending loving kindness to two people. No? Now, this loving kindness for sick people and so on, it's just a matter of focusing, picture them well, happy, at peace, and then just send the thoughts to them. Okay, you can do this anywhere. The more people do, the better. And you meet them, you tell them, say, learn to be at peace with yourself, watch your breath, learn to, just simple thing like in, out, one, in, out, two. Like you teach them all these basic things. And then, if you like, you can tell them, okay, imagine this bright light in your heart, always picture the bright light, just like you do your loving kindness, right? And you can see this bright light is brightening up your whole body, removing the pain, healing it like that. Okay, people are known to do that and they actually get healed. And doctors also are baffled how this could be done. In other words, if you use your meditation strong enough, you direct it to wrap up the body. If your mind is strong enough, the mind can take over the body, so to speak. These are still things medicine is trying to explain, right? We have not, in a sense, we have lost this power, where the mind is so strong, like those good meditators, they can heal themselves with meditation. Of course, we can't heal all the sickness. Some of them are karma related, right? For example, the Buddha can overcome tiredness, sickness, go into deep meditation. But then when the time comes, lifespan is finished, he has to go. Otherwise, he will prove his teaching wrong. If Buddha is still alive today, we say he's permanent, right? But when he passed away, then we say, oh, even the Buddha is impermanent. Okay. Let us close this study by calming ourselves and remembering this very wonderful moment we're gathered here, doing so many wonderful good things. It's something very rare, very difficult for us to gather together in a peaceful place, doing something peaceful, and remembering it. Studying the Buddha Dhamma that will last all our life and many lives to come. By all these good deeds, may we be at peace with ourselves. May we be well. May we be happy. May we be wise in all the things that we do. Above all, may we be blessed with courage to aspire to attain stream winning in this life itself. And also by the power of the three jewels, may our family and loved ones be well and happy. And today let us especially think of two persons. One is David's third sister, who is recovering from surgery, that she may recover quickly, that she may be well and happy. Just send your happy, bright thoughts to her. And also to Lily's brother, that he will be at peace with himself, keep his mind bright, and remember happy things. Keep on sending those happy thoughts to him, so that his whole mind and body are brightened up, and if the time should come, he will be at peace. So send all these thoughts regularly whenever you can, at home, anytime you feel like it, before going to sleep, when you're waking up. Make it your practice. So even when we send our loving kindness to others, we are still cultivating loving kindness. And may all those others who are struggling to practice the Dhamma, may they too taste the sweet fruit of the Dhamma in this life itself. May those who are lost, may those who have difficulties, may they too see the true Dhamma and change their ways to become good people, to follow the Buddha's teaching here and now. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.